the best way the Celtics can slow Luka offensively without giving up a million open threes or leaving Kyrie open. I think we should start here because to me this is where the series starts.
The most interesting part of the series.
This is where the series starts. I want to start actually not even with coverages. I want to start with matchups.
Okay.
And where you think the Celtics go with the initial matchup.
So sometimes, I'll say this and it could look wrong for like a minute because sometimes coaches will junk up, like they'll use their not real matchups for the first 3 possessions of the game to think, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. And then they'll like flip into what you thought. So if I had to peg it for Boston, Jaylen Brown on Luka, that's been their preferred method. Obviously, they'll switch a ton, so who really cares? Drew on Kyrie. Tatum on Gafford, which is the pivot point now. Porzingis, I don't know who you'd rather put Porzingis on, Washington or Jones, and Derek White on the other one of those 2 players. I guess I would guess Porzingis on PJ Washington just because they've done that more. But given his shooting, that can be a little dangerous. But I do think whether it's the first possession or the first minute or the third minute, Boston is going to try to have Porzingis and Horford not be on the rim running centers to just sort of complicate the Mavs pick and roll.
I think we'll see that a lot. And Joe has shown a willingness to muck up matchups. A lot of the coaches now, they do this. And we saw it during the Indiana series, right?
Yeah, same thing with Miles Turner.
With Miles Turner, yep. They did it a lot. So you think Jaylen on Luka. And in terms of, I want to reiterate your point. There are going to be so many bodies, different defenders, primary matchups, bringing the ball up the court that Luka will see. It's not going to be one guy, right? OKC, it was a lot of Lou Dort. LA Clippers, it was a lot of Terrence Mann. And he's going to manipulate matchups and get the guy he wants him.
Feels like 5 years
doesn't
ago.
it feel?
Like I don't really even remember what happened.
I
do remember.
I was talking with the Dunker Spot guys earlier today about the Sixers-Knicks series. How about that series?
It's a great time. It was a great time.
It was a great time in basketball.
Ultimately,
but it's
did not
so
lead
long
very
ago.
far. It was a fantastic series. But like Luka, all the perimeter guys are going to take their turn on Luka, whether it's like a switch with 7 on the shot clock and you're willing to live with Derek White on him, which is a matchup that hasn't gone well for the Celtics, or like Drew Holiday will take him as the primary guy for this stretch, and then Tatum will do it for this stretch. The pivot point to me is where are the Boston big men and what does Luka do in response? That's the interesting question.
Yeah, for sure. And let's assume for a second that is the route that Missoula goes, where KP and Al are on one of PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr.
Would you call them Alfreds? Are they going to be on Alfreds?
PJ and Derek, they're Alfreds. Okay. They didn't make my first annual All-Alfred team, but that was just based on the regular season. I would certainly give them consideration for my postseason All-Alfred team.
Who's below Alfred?
Who's below
Who's like
Alfred?
the weapons guy? You know what? Let's not even do it. Let's just keep going. I'm sorry.
Lucius Fox?
Yeah, wow. You threw out the first name? You could have given me 50 guesses. I would have got Lucius.
So you've got Tatum on the rim runner. You probably at some point will see Jaylen Brown on the rim runner, I would assume. How does that change what Luka does in pick and roll? Does that then become, all right, I'm just going to go find the matchup and play one-on-one out instead of playing versus Minnesota where they're playing drop primarily for some games? They obviously mix it up a ton, particularly in game 3. Does it just become then an isolation game?
It could be, and like that's why Luka is so amazing, because there's 17 different answers to this question that he can have, and one of them is if you put Porzingis on Derek Jones Jr., I'll just have Derek Jones Jr. come screen for me, and you're going to be in drop coverage, and maybe I'll attack that, and I'll force a switch, and then I've got your 7-3 guy on a switch, and he's barbecue chicken. But the problem, the whole goal of Boston is, if Derek Jones Jr. or PJ Washington or whoever it is rolls to the rim, he's rolling into Lively or Gafford, right? Because those guys are going to be hanging on the baseline. And so it's almost like they're playing the pick and roll 3-on-3 instead of 2-on-2, which they would do if it was just like a normal pick and roll. But you'll see him say, all right, like, I don't really care who's guarding Gafford. You want to switch that? Let's try that. You don't want to switch that? Let's try another thing. But I think a lot of it is going to be, where's the big man? If he's on PJ Washington, PJ can pop for threes. If you drop, he's gonna make a lot of those plays, and he's just gonna prod and test where he can.
Joe is big on expected shot values. So my question in terms of what Dallas would be trying to get out of those pick and rolls. Let's say that they're insistent, whoever is guarding Luka on the ball is insistent on not conceding the switch in a drop situation. To me, Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. rolling into Tatum on Gafford, who's lurking on the baseline, it seems like they would be better served to pop for three. And how much is Joe going to be willing to live with that? I think that's the question, right? As this series progresses, how much of, again, these are above the break threes for those guys. They've been phenomenal in the corner. How much are we willing to live with pop above the break threes in drop coverage?
This is the fascinating thing about Mazzulla. I think PJ could make 5 in a row and he'd be like, that's cool. Like, we're not going to overreact to that. Like, he has the will to just, like the Pacers just ate him up from mid-range. They shot some crazy percentage on mid-range and he was like, that's cool. I'm cool with all of it. Like, just keep doing it. The math is going to win out for us. And he was right. Barely. But the thing about Luka is, so you're envisioning that situation where it's like Luka, PJ Washington, Porzingis drops back, PJ Washington, let's say he rolls. And so Luka is prodding. He's got a roller. He's got Lively. He's got the roller's defender dropping back, and he's got Lively's defender hanging around. The greatness of Luka is he turns situations that look like you've won the math. Like, this is a low odds percentage play for Dallas. And he wins it anyway because he can make floaters. He can make step backs. He knows that that he can make floaters and step backs. So he'll fake it a little bit. And that's when you take that little fatal, like, half slide toward him. And all of a sudden the passes you thought are gone are there for him. And like, that's why this guy is such a freaking
the pass to the corner too.
Yeah.
The late, when he goes up to shoot.
That's the one that when he makes that pass, it's like, I don't even know what you're supposed to do. Like, it's over like this. It's like, and it can't be said enough that I think he's listed at 6'7". Sometimes people call him 6'8". Like, what are you, 6'4"?
I'm 6'4".
I mean, I'm 5'11" and 3/4. I claim 6 feet. So I don't know what it feels like to be 6'4". I don't know what it feels like to guard a guy who's 6'8" at that level. The 4 inches are like, it's a huge deal, right? That he's that big, like, just as a help defender, as the guy on him, he sees everything. He has everything in the bag.